Many people say this isn't a real sport, but it doesn't have to be. Even the best in the world have proven to fall against the ones that can master one punch 1,000 times. These are the cream of the crop in a not-so-familiar world that sees thousands of new faces every single hour. These scientists of speed who only push themselves further in such an unfathomable environment because they felt like it. This is the mad dance of a hyper-focused mind trained to feel force through only their senses of sight and their sense of flow. A flow strong enough to know when a mistake has been made before it's even happened. Not to mention the superhuman instincts needed to tell their fingers when to pull the trigger. This is the culmination of eons of training, the final test of reactions and wits, and the endless rampage to be the one who stands tallest on a pedestal with no physical form. These are the Kings of Kings. This is Formula Apex. Welcome back to the third race of Apex King of Kings. Now, if you remember the previous race, you'll know that Jay-Z was on fire as he won the race and nearly secured the fastest lap with a car that would give him 6 bonus points. And that put him in the championship lead by a dominant landslide with 58 points, which seemed like an eternity away from closest rival RVR Catalan's 35. However, things may end up changing with this next race for 3 different reasons. A, it's the first wet race of the series, and wet races always have different people who are stronger at certain things than others. Secondly, Jay-Z is taking the biggest risk he possibly could by picking the Indy Car, where, even though it gives him double the points, it is extremely difficult to keep on track. So, if he can get some good points using the Indy Car in this race, that will truly prove how dominant his current lead really is. And thirdly, a couple new faces are entering the scene, including one of the all-time legends, HVSK. And HVSK has decided to play it a little bit safer than Jay-Z for his first race. So, is that going to pay off? We'll just have to wait and see. Before we start, just one quick note I'd like to make about the points distribution. So, before this race and during it, I set the bonus points for the IndyCar during wet races to triple. And that's what I thought it was for every commentary line. However, after the race, everyone came to the conclusion that I was off my nuts. And so we've all collectively decided to lower the bonus points given by the IndyCar in wet races from 3 times to 2 times. If I make any comments about tripled points, just be aware that I'm talking out of my ass. Will RVR Catalan be able to get their first race win? Will Jay-Z continue the streak with the hardest car to drive? We'll just have to wait and see on this wet day in France. It's lights out and away we go. And newcomer Crumban has got a decent start, as I only just now noticed how many Red Bulls there are over here. Crumpet already takes it wide and is already tumbling down the order, as I think that's Jay-Z. No, Jay-Z's in the Indy Car. He's very much trying to take as big of a risk as possible, as currently it's newcomer HVSK who's currently in the lead. He's been seen as a bit of a prospect in a lot of the leagues he goes through, but this is his first time in such a strange league as this. Currently, some of the highest scorers are at the back, but Jay-Z, despite being in the hardest car to control for this, is fighting for the lead. Now, and we have an Indy Car spinning out. That's Crumpet. Crumpet, after leading the first part, has slid out on one of the toughest corners and now has to climb up all the way back. Jay-Z is still battling with some of the front runners. If he can win this and secure the fastest lap, that is over 100 points in one single race, just from the fact that he's using a triple scorer right now. That would be insane for his championship hopes. But of course, RVR Catalan trying to play it safe. They went with one of the 2024 cars, which do actually give a lot of bonus points in this. If we're to look at the point sheet here, that's 5 bonus points for RVR Catalan if they can get a win, which amounts to 30 points overall. But of course, Jay-Z still in 3rd place after picking the Indy Car, so this is still going to be a positive game for him if he can keep things in control. Even Gaming makes a massive spin, and that's a huge blunder for them, as they were actually looking pretty decent in their championship standings, but now they have quite a bit to climb for. And as quite a shock, Ibrondon, who's picked one of the best cars in the wet, is slipping down the order and is now 8 seconds behind the front runners. I have no clue how that could have been something that big, and they've already cut too many track limits. This could be disastrous for them, for their potential hopes of catching up. JZ50 is still in the top 3, battling with everyone else, as currently it's HVSK and RVR Catalan who are fighting each other. HVSK in the NE22 car. I think that may have been a mistake from RVR Catalan. Wait, yeah. No, wait, hold on. RVR Catalan is in the 2024 car, and HVSK is in the remastered 2022 car, which will give him 3 bonus points in total instead of just 1. So a very bold move from him, especially considering how shaky it is. Jay-Z is still on an absolute rampage. As a reminder, if he comes in 3rd, that would be 45 points for him, even without the... Did the server crash? Okay, so the other weird thing that happened in this race. What you just saw was what happened for my POV the moment Content Update 13 was released, because the time that I scheduled these races and the time that that update was released completely interlocked with each other. Ek and I both had an agreement that he wouldn't reset any of the VIP servers as to not interrupt this race. But I guess it must have had a bit more of an influence than what I was expecting, because it completely froze my POV until I rejoined. Fortunately, I do have a backup recording from Jay-Z, so get ready to hear my confused commentary from my screen being frozen while you can still tell what's going on. Thanks, Jay-Z. Hold on. Is the server gone? Did it... Oh god, I think the server froze! What's going on? Super Saiyan has... What the Hold on, did Egg reset it while we were... What? Hang on! What? Or have I just lost my connection? I have no clue. I have no clue. What's happening? What the... What? What? I'm gonna try and rejoin the server. What the actual fuck is that? Everything else is connected, but that... he hasn't even released the content update yet, so what the hell happened there? If I can get footage from someone else who's actually in this, that would be great. What? What? still racing. Thank God. I can still get Jay-Z's perspective from this because... What? What the actual fuck is going on? Okay, there we go. There we go. We're back. And I think Jay-Z... RVR Catalan must have made a couple of errors as... I couldn't see it because I was having technical difficulties, but you guys will be able to see it in the race replay. But now, these two championship rivals are fighting each other to the wire, with JZ50 being the driver who's going to get the most of a payout from this, considering the absurd bonus points of the Indy Car. RVR Catalan is currently, with the better car for these conditions, just slightly behind them. I really cannot emphasize enough that driving the Indy Car in the wet is a near impossible thing to ask for, and Jay-Z is making it look, quite frankly, trivial. I am shocked and amazed at the fact that he's making it seem way more simple than it actually is. Going through the rest of the field, there's also a battle near the back between Blunder, who seems to be having a really poor time with the wet as he spins out near one of the barriers as he starts to slip further and further. He had a chance to jump the Ethan Gaming, who, as you know in the previous race, had a major blunder which cut out a lot of his points, but now he's starting to climb his way back up with some pretty decent results, which is also going to reflect over here. And is Jay-Z starting to catch up to HVSK? If Jay-Z wins this, then that is going to be legendary. Of course, RVR Catalan did get a better line there, but the horsepower of the Indy Car is keeping Jay-Z ahead. I honestly can't believe this. This is already going to put Jay-Z in an absurd spot. Although, do keep in mind that the weather does vary quite a bit, so yeah, keep that in mind. And that right there is one of the places where the Indy Car in the wet seriously falters in this kind of position, because Jay-Z had to hold back so much to not spin the car. You saw how delicate he was trying to put the accelerator there. And, like, I really don't blame him with how unstable the car is. But still, RVR Catalan are looking like they've got the advantage, and HVSK, despite being in the first race for this league, is looking to take actually a pretty decent win, which I don't think is going to bring him into championship contention, but it is certainly a pretty solid result, because do remember, even if you don't win the championship, the prizes for second and third place are still huge. So if there's a battle for that, I will take it. I will absolutely take that. And RVR Catalan said they may not be able to attend all of the races as well, so yeah, that may also sort of play into this championship field, I guess. Oh, HVSK goes a little bit slow over that curve. I don't know if that was because of the car's limitations or not, but he very much played a dangerous game by picking this car. Okay, my thoughts are kind of jumping everywhere, so I might as well say that because the weather is sort of varying quite a bit, the track could get a little bit drier throughout all of this, and that could throw off any of these front-running competitors, as they may make the decision to switch out to some slightly drier tyres. Like, they may end up going for inters, but that may not play into it. As also, RVR Catalan is now starting to chase down HVSK after a blunder they ended up making. If Catalan gets through with this, Catalan spins out! Do they recover it? Okay, they recover it, but it wasn't necessarily ideal, as they lose a lot of the ground they were initially going for, but HVSK didn't have the most solid result, so if anything, that's a net gain for JZ500, who's still keeping it consistent despite the car he's using. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. This guy is using the hardest car to drive in the wet, and he's casually catching up with the front runners. This is historical. This is historical. Like, look at Crumbat in comparison. Crumbat is spinning over and over and over, and he's already made the decision to try and go for a slightly drier compound. That may end up being an inspired decision if the track stays like light wet when it starts to get that. But now, Jay-Z is catching up to RVR Catalan once again. Just as a note, if Jay-Z finishes ahead of Catalan, then Jay-Z is pretty much going to be in an untouchable spot in the championship, but even if he loses to Catalan, and Catalan comes first while he comes third, that is still a net positive for him, thanks to the 3 times multiplier of the Indy Car in these races. And looking at the fastest laps as well, Catalan seems to have that locked in, but HVSK could make a jump for it at any moment. Yeah, honestly, I feel kind of bad for Super Saiyan because to use the 2007 car effectively, you have to have the right mindset going into it. But trust me, the 2007 car is absolutely the best car to use in the wet. I will forever stand by that. I think Catalan might have made a mistake. No, they keep themselves relatively clean, despite the fact that they have an additional track limit that could come into play a little bit later. It's HVSK who are still keeping themselves relatively consistent at the front. Of course, a couple of yellow sectors, but considering that their tyres are starting to get more worn, that's to be expected. And look here, look at this from JC's perspective. He has to lift a lot to not make the car spin, and you even saw it spin there just a little bit from him getting a normal line. So, yeah, if nobody believes me when I say the Indy car isn't very good in the wet, that right there is our definitive proof. But now, Irondan is having a chase towards Ethan, but Ethan is going to be in a better spot considering he is using the 2024 car, and considering it's a front runner, that is going to give him 5 bonus points just for finishing the race. And Irondan is trying to overtake him with the 2003 car, which is only going to give him 1 bonus point considering the general better stability of that car in the wet. And Cool Gaming Kid is also trying to make a lunge for it as well. This could be a battle for 4th on top of a battle for 1st. It is a bit difficult to tell. I think HVSK might have made a bit of a blunder there as well, because the gap has seemingly shrunk. I'm not too sure though, that may have just been a bit of a camera trick from what I was seeing. So yeah, especially within the top 3 and the gap from 4th to 6th, there's everything to play for within these drivers. And like I said, HVSK has made an incredible debut, considering he's come in with the 2022 car, or rather, the 2022 remaster, and has, well, just been sending it. There's not really much more to it than that. Oh, Irondan's making multiple slips out, and I think he may have lost a lot of ground to Cool Gamer Kid. If he recorded his perspective, you'll be able to see exactly where it all went wrong. But now, Cool Gamer Kid could catch up to Ethan Gaming as well, and that's going to be great for his standings because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure right now Cool Gamer Kid is 3rd in the championship. And if he climbs his way up, of course, there's still going to be a bit of a distance from RVR Catalan, but any point matters in a championship battle, whether it's for a podium spot or for the overall win. Of course, this is where the tyres are going to naturally start getting more worn, so once it gets to lap 11, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are probably going to be thinking about boxing, but considering that they're keeping it relatively stable, that may be sort of a do I want to take this gamble kind of thing. Although it may potentially be worth it for the fastest lap, as RVR Catalan still does have that, and considering the car that Catalan is using, which is a front-running 2024 car, that would get them 3 additional bonus points. Which, considering the battle they're currently in, RVR Catalan will need all the help they can get in this battle. Hold on, I think Even Gaming might have made a couple of errors, because Cool Gamer Kid is nearing closer and closer. This could be a pretty big battle for the championship if Even Gaming does make a big mistake. But of course, both of these drivers have now been driving Magny-Core in the wet for an extended period of time, so they'll definitely know what the limits they can take are. But of course, that is constantly shifting thanks to the car's compounds. And now, Irondan has been lapped by HVSK and RVR Catalan, as now, not just him, but all of the field are going to start getting lapped. This definitely shows, like, a pristine display of skill when, again, look at the front-running cars that are here. This is a 2022 remaster, this is a 2024, and this is an Indy car. Again, JC is taking as many gambles as he can go for, and they have always paid off to some extent. Of course, he's not in the position to try and get a race win here, but the fact that he's still going to finish in the top 3 will be huge for him, considering the 45 points that will bank him. I'm going to go quiet for a little bit because not much is happening right now. wasn't the cleanest entry from both HVSK and RVR Catalan, as you can see from that little clip I put up right there. And Jay-Z somehow takes it far cleaner despite the lack of stability in his car. This could potentially mean that Jay-Z could still bout for a win if Catalan or HVSK make a major mistake. HVSK going really fast in that sector, like that is a dangerous speed. And hold on a minute, I'm gonna get a walking photo for this. Have you ever seen this many Red Bulls of different classes in a race before? This is honestly hilarious. Look at how close they are. This is incredible. Dun 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 dun! Max vastanpe! Dun dun dun! There's so many of them, oh my god! Okay, let me go back to the regular spectating camera. I just had to get a picture of that. You know I'm gonna be using that for the picture. Actually, RVR Catalan is getting very, very close to HVSK. Just look at the differences between the drivers. Like, they all have the same livery, but like, ooh, it's like, ooh, this one's a big one, this one's a big one, but this one's got kidney failure. Oh, boy. Oh, I think there might have been a slip! Who was that from? It was from Even! No, it wasn't! Hold on! It was from RVR Catalan! RVR Catalan may just end up slipping down the order if they aren't focused as HVSK barrels past the lap cars. I still can't get over the fact that there are so many Red Bulls here. It's incredible. Incredible? But still, both Catalan and HVSK do have a little bit of a slip there. It's no surprise considering how much they've been pushing their cars. Like I said, they're probably going to think about boxing considering they have a box-worthy gap on HVSK. But the real question is, if the other person boxes, they're probably potentially waiting for the other person to go for a box just so they can make an educated, oh, you're doing that? Well, I'll do this as well, kind of guess. There's very much a lot of strategy that goes into a gap as small as this. I'm going to take another sip. But of course, with only 8 laps to go, that may be a sort of a, oh, I'm going to bait you into doing this kind of thing. It's a bit difficult to tell with these drivers, as a lot of them do have some pretty wild strategies. Like, the one that comes to my mind is the finale for the first season of Apex World Championships, when with only 5 laps to go, Red Bull driver Beastover thought it would be a good idea to box for new softs when he was this close to winning the championship. Yeah. These drivers have a lot of very wild strategies in their back pockets, so we'll just have to wait and see who has the one that's more on ball. It's a full spin from Catalan! They do recover it, but that is going to be a boatload of lost time, and it's looking great for HVSK, but he is in the more unstable car, well, in general, not in the wet, so who knows if he's going to keep himself safe. Catalan does not make the decision to box, as their grasp on a potential lead is slipping further and further away with a 2.5-second gap. The only good... It's a full drift from RVR Catalan! They bring it into the wall, but they recover it! It looks like RVR Catalan may not be able to make it up after all, as Jay-Z 5000 re-enters the second place picture if the RVR Catalan makes one more mistake. Now, all HVSK has to do is play it safe. He may have been trying a little bit too hard to play it safe there, though, as he blundered a lot of time to an RVR Catalan, which took a far cleaner line there. As remember, even though the gap is 6 seconds long, all it takes is one blunder for everything to change. And France is a track where it's very easy to slip out on. So who's going to make a mistake? Will it be HVSK? Will it be RVR Catalan? We'll just have to wait and see. HVSK takes that curve very cleanly. What's RVR Catalan's response to that? Are they going to lose time? Yes, they do. It's a bit of an odd slip, and it's a very small one, but it does still lose time to extend this gap to 6.5 seconds. Actually, look at that. That's a 6.420. The people who know the funny number will probably get a bit of a giggle at that. Okay, Catalan has made the decision to box for some new compounds, just in case HVSK makes another major mistake, and that grants Jay-Z second place. And the question as to whether RVR Catalan can make it forward again is a bit of a mystery, and I think Catalan might have actually dented their wing at that point. I'm not too sure. So Catalan putting all of their eggs into the boxing for new wets basket, but considering there's only 6 laps left, I think that might have been a little bit too late to make that decision, as now JZ5002 is in a brilliant spot, and Catalan has a lot of work to do to bring themselves back into the championship picture. HVSK is saying something in the chat. He's asking whether someone, I'll say real quick, not mandatory. I just said that because HVSK just casually asked whether you need to pit in the chat, so I just reminded him. Don't want someone making a decision based on a false assumption of the rules. The gap between JZ and RVR Catalan is shrinking quite rapidly, as this could be a pretty big one to decide the fate of second place. And Catalan does also have a chance to make their fast lap even stronger if they can keep themselves focused. Of course, HVSK is still going to be cruising to a victory if he can keep this clean, but he also may make the decision to box if he wants to try and gun for the fastest lap. There's a lot of questions here, because that could also lead JZ5002 just to casually waltz to a victory if everyone else decides to box. But still, no matter what happens, JZ is once again going to be the driver who walks out with the most points, considering the insane amount of points you get for finishing a race at all with the Indy Car. Considering, you know, it's the most unstable car that there is, and I can imagine that that choice is going to make JZ5002's vehicle pick of the Indy Car a lot more popular for a lot of the other drivers in the later wet races, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. Okay, there's now 5 laps to go, and HVSK is in a very, very good spot with RVR Catalan only 4 seconds down to JZ. Catalan is making more and more ground with each lap, but whether they'll be able to actually make it up to JZ still looms in the question. I feel like we have first place sealed, but second and third place does still have a bit of a question mark over it. Catalan's gap shrinks once again as JZ is starting to slip out a little bit more. He does, of course, still have to do these remaining sectors with some extremely worn IndyCar wets, because while the IndyCar may have some insane tire degradation, or rather, while the IndyCar may have some insane tire preservation, that doesn't really count for wet races, as his wheels are now going to be extremely worn. And that's one of the other reasons as to why the IndyCar is so hard to drive in the wets. Honestly, if you can win a race in the wets, in the IndyCar, you need to give yourself a pat on the back. And JZ, I don't know if it was JZ or YC, but I remember them absolutely condemning the pace of the IndyCar, saying that they didn't believe in it as they hadn't tried it in years. But I feel like if they're the person I think they are, that's definitely going to be witching their minds, considering the points it's going to get them now. But now, there's only supposedly a 2-second gap between RVR Catalan and JZ5000. HVSK still hasn't made the decision to box for new tires, so I feel like they're probably going to be cruising to the end, but they could also make a gun for the fastest lap if they want to, considering they have enough of a gap to go for a box. I'll tell HVSK. Look. Hold on, the gap has gotten incredibly short between JZ and RVR Catalan. They're one mistake away from someone else taking a spot, and now, with only 3 laps to go, the battle properly starts up between JZ and Catalan. Which one are going to be the one to stand out on top? Will it be JZ, who's nursing home the hardest car to control but has the championship lead, or will it be RVR Catalan on fresh tires? I feel like Catalan, yeah, it was a mistake for JZ. JZ cut too many track limits. There's too many track limits for him as RVR Catalan flies ahead once again. HVSK has made the decision to not box for new tires, so he's going to nurse his car to the end, and I think that we've seen the extent of where they're going to finish, unless RVR Catalan makes another major blunder. But now, cutting through the positions for the back markers, Ethan Gaming is still battling with Cool Gamer Kid, as Cool Gamer Kid did actually get the position on Ethan. The two Canadian drivers have been duking it with each other ever since the beginning of the race. They are a couple of laps down, but of course, this is still a big battle for both of them, considering what it could. And Ethan Gaming cuts another track limit and slows down once more. I feel like Cool Gamer Kid is going to be the guy who wins this interaction, which is definitely going to help him in his championship battle. Of course, it's not as good as it could be, considering his closest championship rival, RVR Catalan, is doing a much better job in the same car. But again, they're doing he's doing pretty much all he can do in these strange conditions. Wait a sec, I think RVR Catalan might have taken it a little bit wide, or they're probably just slowing down for another corner. I'm actually not sure. We'll have to wait to see the track limits for that. Yeah, RVR Catalan cut a track limit. They may be approaching the limits of what they can do, so if they make too many mistakes in regards to that, then they may end up just making a major blunder with those penalties right at the end, handing JZ 5002 second place after having such a difficult race. I honestly have no clue which one out of these two are going to take it. Of course, RVR Catalan is the more consistent one, but JZ has proven himself to be an insane force to be reckoned with multiple times over. As, do you know where the other Indy Car in this race is? No, that. Crumben is struggling to keep their car even somewhat focused, as every single corner they are taking it as careful as possible, but it was still a wise decision to go for it considering the triple points. JZ is taking a car that should have been a back marker in these conditions and fighting the top dogs with it. Again, I know he was always doing this, but JZ is, well, he's got an answer for everything, quite frankly, and it's insane. It is a spectacle to watch. Currently, it's still RVR Catalan with the fastest lap, and HVSK has said he has no interest in it as he goes on to the final lap of this race. Now, we all thought that there would be a bit of a championship battle within this, but I don't think that's going to be the case considering the insane pool of points that Jay-Z's going to get, even from finishing third with the Indy Car, as that's going to bag him 45 points. But turning away from that, let's look at the front from someone we haven't been paying that much attention to considering everything that's been going on in the back. So, HVSK is a driver that's known for a lot considering all the places he appears, but he was initially a little bit confused on the concept for this league, but after getting a grasp for it and putting in a lot of theory crafting throughout the practice sessions, he found a car and track combination that clicked, and he's been bringing it to the limit. He got an insane lead on RVR Catalan with 22 seconds ahead, 22 seconds clear of them in fact. We have our first wet race winner as HVSK wins the French Grand Prix without the fastest lap, but RVR Catalan, who is still the closest competitor to JZ 5002, finishes ahead of them for the first time in this league, but it's not going to be an outscoring finish considering the car JZ 5000 is using. RVR Catalan comes in second place, securing themselves 26 points in the process, the most points they've scored in one race, but JZ 5000 brings the Indy Car into the podiums, the hardest car to use on this entire track, and he still had a bite at the podiums. Incredible. Unbelievable. I feel like his points may already be within the 100 mark. I genuinely don't know. That is incredible. But now, and the battle between Cool Gamer Kid and Ethan concluded with Cool Gamer Kid standing on top. That's going to look good for his constructors' points, as now Crumpet comes in 6th, Ibrondan comes in 7th, and that's the end of the points distribution. 8th didn't finish. This race gave us a very interesting perspective on the current driver standings. First of all, Jay-Z's decision to pick the Indy Car seriously paid off, as even though he only finished 3rd in the overall race, he just by a tiny hair scored the most points in the race, increasing his driver's standings lead by just a little bit more. But the other thing that everyone was paying attention to was HVSK, as he was able to pull away into a lead of over 20 seconds on his debut. And he was also caught saying at the end of the race that he was actually driving really poorly for what his normal standards entail, as he was forced to drive on mobile. And his skills when he's on mobile don't exactly equate to what the real HVSK can do. Hell, that was entirely the reason why he didn't go for the fastest lap, because he didn't think he could do it when driving on mobile. Outside of that, the driver that got the worst result was Super Saiyan, as the fastest car in the entire game for wet races is the 2007 car, and Super Saiyan was the only person to pick it, meaning that they were a prospect to take the entire race. Until they crashed out on the first lap, meaning that their standings dropped from 9th place all the way down to 12th. The last thing to note is that HVSK was caught saying that if he could keep this momentum, he thinks he'll definitely have a shot at getting second in the Drivers' Championship. But he thinks that first place is just a little bit too far for him considering when he started in this championship. But again, this is King of Kings, and there are a lot of surprises around every corner. So don't be too shocked if all of a sudden he's in the overall championship picture, because I wouldn't put it against him.